you do trust them to the extent where they've included the scope of work. But I always ask this one question: is there anything that I have missed based on your expertise that you could come after me later on for additional money? Is there anything that we have not covered? So I put the burden on them to educate me and also put them on notice that don't come to me after, let's say, a month of working or a week of working and then tell me, oh, now this is extra. I always ask that question. And then if they don't give me a straight answer, then I will again ask to rephrase the question as a lawyer.
Hello, and welcome back to the Joyous Path to Millions podcast. If you've ever wondered how to make sure that you're legally protected in business, if you've ever been curious about legal mistakes that you might be making as an entrepreneur, this episode is for you. Of course, we're going to be diving deep into entrepreneurship and money mindset, but we're also going to be exploring just the legal aspects of business today, which is so important. So in case you're new around here, hi, I'm your host, Emily June Wilcox, serial entrepreneur, seven-figure business owner, #1 best-selling author, and the creator of the Money Wound Healing Movement. I'm also a devoted mama of two. I love country music and crystals, and I'm on a mission to put more money in the hands of soulpreneurs through healing their money wounds, building abundant businesses, balancing their masculine, feminine energy. And I really believe that when we do this, we collectively up-level the planet. We help usher in new paradigm wealth. I'm honored that we get to walk the joyous path to millions together. And today I'm joined by Amira Irfan. She is an internationally renowned business lawyer, blogger, and the coach behind A Self Guru, an online company helping over 100,000 entrepreneurs legally protect their business through affordable legal templates and services. She is also an author. She wrote 23 legal mistakes to avoid as an entrepreneur, and her work has been featured in over 200 media outlets. Amira, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Emily. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I can't wait to dive into everything because, my gosh, I feel like with entrepreneurship, it's such a balance of not getting paralyzed by fear and just stumbling through things. But I have started so many businesses, and every time I do like the LLC paperwork and do the S Corp election and all that stuff, I always feel like I'm stumbling through it. Like I really don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I like worry sometimes, is there like a day when somebody is going to come knocking and be like, you screwed all this stuff up? And even though I have CPAs and a fractional CFO and all that kind of stuff. And so I think often we do have that kind of like looming fear or question mark in our business. And it's important that we don't let it stop us. But I think you're also probably sharing what are some of the key things that we want to make sure that we're doing. So let's just start there. Can you share like what, if you had one thing that you could shout from the mountaintops, what would it be?
Yeah, no, great question. So the first thing I will actually start with is my dad's story and the legal mistake that he made, which ended up resulting into a $90,000 lawsuit. I wasn't a lawyer at the time, but this was during college. But that one experience definitely changed the trajectory of my life. And my father made the mistake of not using contract. Now, he's not alone in this. I've been working as a lawyer for over a decade now since that experience. That's the reason I've decided to become a lawyer, because I saw like how many mistakes business owners and entrepreneurs make, not because they want to, but because sometimes they don't have the access to appropriate legal help, or sometimes it's not affordable, or sometimes it's just that you just don't know. Yeah. That is one of the things that I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs. Now that I've been in the entrepreneurship in the industry for over 6 years now, in my own business, A Self Guru, I have worked with thousands of entrepreneurs, and I see a lot of them just using free legal template they Googled online, which they think is going to be enforceable or enough in court. And then they face the reality that it's not, or that it's missing so many key provisions, exposing their business to risk, and or that it just leads to disputes. And then when it's time to fight that dispute, that contract is not helpful. So that happens a lot. And mistake number one, just not using a contract. Like in my dad's case, he didn't even use one with the person he hired. Sometimes I see that a lot with entrepreneurs too, that they're going in business with a friend or they're hiring a friend or a family member and they think that, oh, we don't need a contract. We've got that understanding. But I always advise that keep business and personal
Yeah.
separate. It just really, when money is exchanged, there's always that likelihood of disputes and issues. And honestly speaking, contracts really are for both parties.
Yeah.
They preserve that relationship. So that's something to definitely keep in mind.
I love that so much. And I really believe clarity is kindness. In our agency, my gosh, we have updated our contract so many times. It is such a living, breathing document. Like anytime there's something that comes up with a client where there's a misunderstanding and we thought it was so clear, like what we offer and where the scope ends, and it wasn't clear for them, we go back to our contract, not only to like enforce it, but also to see where could we make this more clear? Because if we're outlining things in a way where it's not just buried in the fine print, but it's like, hey, initial right here, initial here, that you're understanding all of these things, then we're going into business on the same page, both with clear expectations. And I feel like that sets such a groundwork for like a successful engagement and happy clients at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I'll give you two real examples, one of my own, right? So when I hired a website designer a few years ago to redesign my website, obviously I used a contract, me being a business lawyer. And so we put a lot of things in there in terms of scope of work. And as you can imagine, when you're having someone working on your website, it's a little bit of a long-term project. It takes a couple of months to get everything ready the way you want it to be. And I remember there was that one incident where she was designing Pinterest pins and she just right away said, "Oh, that's not part of my scope of work." And I said, it is. Because I
Yeah.
remember very well covering that as part of the scope of work in the contract and putting that in the contract. So imagine if we didn't have that properly stated, then I would have had to pay
Yeah.
extra per hour or whatever the fee. But the good thing was that we were both very amicably and very professionally able to back to that provision. And guess what? No issues, no problems. And we were able to proceed and I was able to get that work done. Now, I'll give you another example with my own customer who has gotten my terms and conditions template. She does coaching, she does blog coaching, and she works with bloggers. And so I always advise all my customers, and if you ever get my templates, this is all done for you. So you don't even have to think. So she had a very clearly no refund policy in there for her coaching that she does. And unfortunately, still the client asked for a refund. And that's thousands of dollars now that potentially could lose. But because she had gotten that template from me and she was able to refer back to that template as the provision highlighted for the client and say, hey, listen, you signed up for this and I'm sorry, but this is our no refund policy. You clearly signed it. You were aware of it. And as such, we can't give you the refund and end of the story. And she was able to save thousands of dollars that way. So again, it just really honestly in both situations, contract came to the rescue.
Yeah.
So if you don't even have the document, you not only will have legal issues, but then you'll end up losing money. And of course, it's such a nightmare to have to deal with issues like that.
Totally.
They're like that looming scary thread on your head all the time.
Yeah. Okay. I have another contract question, and then I know I want to dig into your entrepreneur story too. But as you were talking about creating the contract with your web designer, it reminded me some of the places where we've had contracts go sideways a little bit is when we don't know what we don't know. And not from a legal perspective, but more from a scope of work perspective, where I invested in a software startup. I was like one of the co-founders, and we were engaging with a firm that was doing a lot of the back-end development. So it was like highly technical work. And I don't know jack shit about that. Let's be honest. I would have no idea like where the scope should start and end. And so I almost didn't even know the questions to ask. And we had other people who were involved in this project as well. But I've definitely had those moments where you're either like relying on them to have a good contract and to clearly communicate it, or if they don't and you're trying to bring something to the table, it's tricky because there's such a knowledge gap. And I'm curious what your perspective is on that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a great question. And it does happen. And in situations like this, I've also encountered them myself in my business too. So one of the first things, or not just in business, even when I'm getting housework done, like I'm working with contractors, I don't know how much time or what is going to be required. So a couple of ways that you could honestly protect yourself in those situations. The number one thing I always do is when I'm not aware of the scope of work or what, because you're working with all these different professionals and different industries, and in your situation, the software company, I always, before you sign, and once you do trust them to the extent where they've included the scope of work, but I always ask this one question: is there anything that I have missed based on your expertise that you could come after me later on for additional money? Is there anything that we have not covered? So I put the burden on them to educate me and also put them on notice that don't come to me after, let's say, a month of working or a week of working and then tell me, oh, now this is extra. I always ask that question. And then if they don't give me a straight answer, then I will again ask to rephrase the question as a lawyer and be like, is there additional cost that I am expected to incur because of this work that we're doing?
Right.
Maybe in terms of tools, maybe in terms of tech. I'll give you an example with the housework. I remember I hired somebody to install some lights and some things. And after we agreed upon the price, I have to get this additional stuff now from Home Depot and you have to pay for it. I'm like, no, I asked you that question. You assured me that this is what it will be. And it's in the contract that this is all the cost, no additional cost. So you have to bear the cost of that now additional tool
Yeah.
because you didn't disclose that to me.
Yeah.
So these are just some of the ways that you could have language in there that any additional cost is going to be their responsibility. You could even have that in there. And so things like that is how you protect yourself. Ask the right question
Yeah.
and then put it on them. And then also put that provision in the contract that additional cost related to the scope of work will be the responsibility of this party, not you. So they can't come after you later on and be like, oh, pay us for this additional thing now that we have to do for your project.
That is genius. I love it. Everyone listening, take note because I'm taking note of that. Those are questions that I'm going to be asking moving forward. I love it. You know, the people you see that have done something really successful or out of the box and are living a life that you find really interesting and inspiring. Do you ever wonder how they think or what's going on behind the scenes, how they make their decisions? I know I do. I've invested lots of money, at this point to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, to get access to people like this. Not because I want to copy paste what they're doing, but because I want to get to know how they think, what moves they're making behind the scenes. And of course, because we're energetic beings, first and foremost, their energy alters my energy for the positive. This is exactly what I do for you inside Soul Mission, my private podcast full of transmissions that cause you to feel inspired, expanded, and ready to take massive action that aligns with your dreams and goals. The only difference is that you don't have to invest hundreds of thousands to get it. In fact, you can binge for free for 3 days. Check the show notes to sign up or DM me the word mission on Instagram to get the link and start letting my energy rub off on you. Okay, so your dad had this experience, a really negative experience, and that sort of shaped your desire to go to law school. Now, one of the things I know about lawyers is that it's like the number one professional field where people change what they're doing and leave the field. Like a lot of people become lawyers, they get all of this advanced education, and then they freaking hate it and are trying to pivot out of it. And I think a lot of the reason they hate it is because they're really like trading time for dollars. And even though it's a lot of dollars, they're sacrificing a lot of like their health and their family and all that kind of stuff. And obviously you're here today having built a 7-figure business, having really set it up in a very entrepreneurial way. Did you always know you were going to do that? Or did you try a more traditional route and it didn't work for you?
Yeah, so I did. First of all, I had no plans of becoming a lawyer. I was going to become a doctor. But as they say, sometimes life has different plans for you. And I always say that my dad's lawsuit was a blessing in disguise for me because it really was the breakthrough that I needed for my personal growth. I realized my dad's lawsuit lasted an entire year because lawsuits, as you can imagine, are costly. They're also very long lasting. And so in that 1 year, I was the middle party between basically the person in between him and his lawyers because he would just dump everything on me in terms of correspondence, in terms of questions that the lawyers had. So while navigating through the legal landscape with his lawyers, it just like inspired in me that I want to be a lawyer and perhaps highlighted that side of my personality, which I wasn't even aware of. And so that was a big transformation for me. But then after that, I went on to law school, became a lawyer, worked as a lawyer for over a decade in the traditional law firm setting. And I really love it. I'm not one of those unhappy lawyers. I was not one of those people that felt that, oh my God, I hate my work or it's grueling or anything like that. I was even a litigation attorney. So I would travel and go to court. It was great, but at the same time, deep inside, perhaps call it to coming from my upbringing, that dad being an entrepreneur, it was something inside of me feeling like this sense of emptiness where I felt not because of the profession, but because I felt that I was destined for more.
Mm,
I was destined for bigger impact. I still wanted to hold on to my law degree, never wanted to let go of my license, never wanted to not do anything law related because again, I have the huge passion for it, but I just wanted a bigger impact. And I wanted to translate what I was doing one on one with clients in the traditional law firm setting to actually globally and in the online space. So that way, again, have more meaning and have more freedom and of course, impact. So that's exactly how A Self Grew was born. After working for, like I said, over a decade in the traditional sense, I was like, I need to take this into the online world so that way I can do all of this and I can reach more people. And that's when I created A Self Grew. I actually did this while working full time as a lawyer during the day. So I would work 16-hour days. And then at nights and weekends, I would grow the business. And then it wasn't until 2 years that I was able to finally quit my job because it got to the point where it was just like I was experiencing
yeah.
burnout. And it was just so tough to keep up. So I decided to go full into entrepreneurship, but while still helping people legally because we got our services, anything with contracts, contract reviews, LLC formations. That's I still work with clients one on one. But I also have a passive income source, which is my legal templates, where people can just download privacy policies, all these contracts that they need to work with people safely. So I've got that side of the business as well, which is completely hands off. And yeah, so it's been an amazing journey and working with so many entrepreneurs and just getting to this point was definitely not easy. There were some health challenges along the way, but hey, that's sometimes the price that you have to pay and the lessons you have to learn.
Mm, I love that. Did you come up against any limiting beliefs around money or wealth along the way?
100%. There were a couple of things, right? So first was definitely I had a scarcity mindset and I blame that to my dad's lawsuit and also our family humble beginnings. There were always this mantra in the house that, oh, money doesn't grow on trees. You got to save more. And so I came from this mindset that there isn't enough and I need to hold on to my money or I just need to be careful with how I spend. And I would sometimes might want to spend more, but then they would like family members would make those kinds of remarks like, oh, you're too expensive or this and that. And I would just limit myself. And abundance mindset came very later on in my life when I got married and when I started living life a little more independently. And as I grew older, I realized this is not the right mindset. I need to think there's enough and I'm willing to share. And that's when I made that shift from scarcity to abundance is when opportunities opened up, when I came into my own being. So that's something that I definitely struggled with. I also use affirmations daily. So that's something I've been doing meditation daily for over 10 years now. And that all of these things have really heightened my spiritual side and allowed me to look at the universe as my supporter rather than always feeling like things are going against me, right? I had that half glass empty mentality, but now that's not the case. Now it's like half glass full. I always look at it, even with a difficult situation. Okay, what is the lesson here that I was supposed to
Yeah.
learn? The second limiting belief, Emily, that I had when I started the business, and this is again part of us being trained in a corporate way, like being a lawyer, working long hours under a very demanding profession. I just thought that business was supposed to be like that. Like I was supposed to be a machine. I was supposed to be workaholic and I had to work tirelessly, just like I did in my 9 to 5 job. But that's not the case with business. When you go into that hustle mentality, once again, you neglect yourself mentally and physically. And I'll give you a true example. I think it was in 2021, if I remember now, not too long ago. I ended up in the emergency room with an excruciating pain in my body. I had a cyst, and next thing you know, I was getting operated, and it's a
Oh,
hysterectomy,
wow.
which is a
Yeah.
life changing. I lost in that moment, my ability to have kids. I lost my moment so much in my body, my hormones, and it just like literally took that. And when I was listening to one of your podcasts and how you mentioned like health crisis is like the wake up. That exactly is what happened with me.
Mm,
It was that wake up. That surgery took me from this masculine workaholic type of tirelessly working personality to like slowing down,
yeah.
breathing, and just like realizing that nothing in life is more valuable than my health, mentally, physically. So I really make that effort now every single day to take care of my body, that self care, to just have that balance and harmony. And it's a process. But yeah, all of those have been experiences that have really shaped me as to who I am today. And I realize that the more I do this, the more happy I am. And the business things come to me,
Yeah.
support comes to you. Right? And you're just not in that hustle mentality anymore.
That's so interesting. I'm sorry that you had to go through that health crisis. First of all, I think it's especially for women, it's unfortunate. And there's an irony there that it was like taking away this like female reproductive organ that actually allowed you to step more into your feminine energy and to be more surrendered, more trusting, to allow yourself to be more provided for, to slow down and to receive. And when you're saying that like things are just happening for you now and like things are coming to you, that's a very feminine energy. It's an attractive energy. You don't have to force it. You don't have to make it happen. By just allowing and being who you are and taking care of your vitality, of course, there's magnetism and people are interested and want to work with you.
Yes, absolutely. And it just, you're more empathetic,
Yeah.
right? Like you just have a bigger, like you look at things very differently. Like now there's this calmness about me, which I never did because I was a very ambitious person and goes, but now, even if a challenge or an issue occurs in business or something, I'm like, it's okay. I'll flip on it. But before it was more like, oh, I got to fix it now. There was this urgency, but not anymore. I don't work weekends anymore. I don't work after a certain period of time in the nights and evenings. So all these boundaries and all these changes in the way I run my business happened after this incident, unfortunately. But that's okay. As long as I have improved and learned something
Yeah, of
from it, that's
course.
the most important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine to want to either be a doctor or a lawyer to begin with, you probably had a lot of achievement culture baked into you. And then I've never been to law school, but I just imagine them being like, you're going to have to work hard and you're going to have to rise above the rest. And it's very like achievement and do and make it happen. And then you're going to be like a junior partner at the firm and you're going to have to prove yourself and put in the hours. And it just, the whole thing feels like a ton of masculine energy, which for a while, like the achievement is wonderful and like that part feels really good. But without that balance, there often is a price to pay.
100%. And law is traditionally as a very masculine profession. And yes, over the years it has evolved, but at the same time, even today, females, they have to prove themselves. It's unfortunate. That's the reality. And you're right. It's very cutthroat. It's very competitive. So you're surrounded with that environment for years. And so is there brainwashing or conditioning, and you don't even realize that you become that
Yeah.
machine. So that's what happens with me, especially in all these years. Yes, there's a lot of creativity to law too, articulation and just being able to think on my spot. I've learned a lot of great skills, don't get me wrong. But with that also came, like you said, the price that you pay to be good at in your profession.
I'm sure you're such an inspiration to other women in law now, just seeing the way that you practice, the way that you've built it for more impact, but also more passive income and more of that balanced energy. So I love that you're doing what you do. Do you have any money goals or impact goals that you're working on? What has it meant for you to build a business to this level of success?
Yeah, it's been so I used to, when I started the business, yes, I used to have those goals and I achieved them. I'll give you an example. When I started, I didn't even know what I was doing. I had never started an online business before. So it was just like me. I still remember crippled with fear and inaction, despite being such a confident woman in my profession. But in my personal life, starting this business, there was a lot of self doubt. There was a lot of fear. And I remember my husband telling me, just do it. Don't even think. Don't think like a lawyer. Just do it. Think of it like a hobby. So that's just how it all started. And then I said to myself that if I make $1,000, that's fine. It's just be a hobby. I'll do it on the side. But thanks to me and my hard work, and of course, the universe for rewarding the hard work, I was able to make six figures in my first year. And so I was like, okay, I'm onto something. And then came in my second year a month of making 78,000 in a single month. So I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'd never made that much even as a
Yeah.
lawyer. I still remember this moment because it was so pivotal. Like, this was the moment that I had to let go of the job, because I was also one of those people that law was my identity for years as a lawyer. So I was like a little bit reluctant to let go of my job. That was also something I had to overcome, despite my business being made it. Like, I made it. I knew I had a viable business, profitable, everything, but still her piece of me was not letting go of the job. And so then when that $78,000 month happened, and I remember that one day I made 11,000 in a day, and I was making that, I think, in a month as a lawyer. So I was like, wow, if I don't do it now, when am I going to? So that since then I decided to quit, go all in. And after, I think a year later is when the surgery happened. Then I stopped with these goals, to be very honest with you, Emily. It's not because I don't want to push myself to the next limit. It's just that I want to live my life in more harmony and openness to receiving. And so I just decided that as long as I'm profitable, as long as my business is not running me, I am in a happy place, and I continuously make impact. We have thousands of customers, thousands of 5-star reviews every day. There's a love note in my inbox for my templates, for my services. And that alone just gives me the joy and the motivation to keep going. So that's what I focus now on, not so much on these numbers, because the numbers can really drain you. Especially, you can be your own enemy sometimes because you can be so hard on yourself. Oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. And then you go into this whole mental marathon. And I just don't want to live my life that way.
I'm so glad you're speaking about this, because those of us who are like naturally achievement oriented, it's like we have to overcompensate in other ways. So I'm like you, where I don't set a lot of hard and fast business goals because I don't really need them to motivate me. I want to wake up and do something. That is naturally a part of me. And so putting extra pressure on a goal that probably will happen anyway, no matter what, if I just show up devoted and taking aligned action, I find that the goal more than anything just puts time pressure, and that's not really healthy. And it often doesn't have us making the best long-term decisions. We're doing more like sprint or instant gratification kinds of things, when if we just focused on the bigger vision, it would all happen anyway.
It does. It does. Like, I've divided my business into the buckets. There's the client reviews, there's the legal templates, there's the passive income. So every day I do take action. It's not that the goals are not there, but those are like more like action goals. And then, like you said, I leave the rest of the results to happen on their own. And they do, honestly. If one of my goals is to create a reel or a video, then guess what? I will do it. And then the views will come. Or if they don't come, no worries. We learn and we do better in the next one. And same thing, if the goal is, hey, I have to publish the blog post, and that's what I'm doing, and the money will come from the blog post, and vice versa. It just goes like that. So I focus literally like on the action items now, more than, oh, I must have this number of visitors, or I must have this many customers, or I must have this much traffic, or I must make this much at the end of the month. I don't want to put myself through that pressure. So I focus on, okay, this is what my business is divided into these 5 buckets, and let me take action on these 5 things or 3 things in a day. I don't want to work more than 4 or 5 hours a day. So that's what I do. And then the rest honestly just works it out on its own. And whatever needs help, I will attend to that.
Yeah. So let's break down this $78,000 month. Because I know everybody listening is like, how did that happen? Did you launch something? Where did the clients come from? Can you share a little behind the scenes?
Oh, absolutely. So I have always focused on my business being a diversified source of income. So I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket, because as with business and you being a very successful business owner yourself, that there's ebbs and flows, right? Like 1 minute it's up and then a minute down. So you got to diversify. And that's something I did from the very beginning. So the $78,000 came from different sources. Number one, my own legal templates that all entrepreneurs need. So if you're starting a business, you're going to need a privacy policy, disclaimers, terms and conditions, things like that. And so I have legal bundles and templates individually that people buy. So that was definitely a big source of income. The second one was one-on-one work with me. I also work with entrepreneurs one-on-one in the sense where I have a lot of people that have legal questions. Like you started with LLCs, right? So many people don't understand like what kind of structure I should have, or what are my responsibilities? Like we had a new BOI requirement that came into effect this year. Like I just did a training on it earlier this year, live training. So things like that. And so that's where I answer questions. I give you access to me. If there's an LLC paperwork I need to file, we do that. I review contracts. I I draft contracts. I do audits, all kinds of things. So there's a part of that service package that I have on my site, so that 78,000, a little bit of that came from there. But my focus is not so much on this one-on-one work. It's more like passive, but still I like to offer it because people do need that help, right? Not every business can just download a template and run with it. Then the third part of it came from affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is a big part of my business as well. Like I would say about 20,000 came from there, because affiliate marketing is for those of you who are listening and you don't know, affiliate marketing is when you promote other people's products and you earn a commission. So I have my own affiliate program, for example, when my customers buy a legal template, they'll promote my template to their audience and they get a 40% commission. Similarly, I have invested in so many business tools and resources to grow my business. So I like to promote those ones that made a difference in my business too with my audience. And then I get a commission. So that was also a big chunk of that $78,000, the affiliate marketing. And it's also very passive because I have blog posts about affiliate products. I also have videos about affiliate products. I also have my email list that I share these offers with. I do cross promotions, things like that. That's something that is pretty passive. Then the other part of it came from sponsorships. So I also work with brands. I've built a loyal following. I have a good email list that I built over the years. And that's also, by the way, a pro tip. Always work on your email list. I see some entrepreneurs don't focus on the email list and then they regret it. Your email list is where the money is. So definitely work on that too. So yeah, so I have sponsorships. So brands will pay me to, again, create a video, write a blog post, share their products with my email list. And that was another way that I made that money. And then lastly, I also get paid as a speaker, not just in the online space, but even in the traditional like offline space in my own community and also in my own area in Florida I live. I also got paid to speak. So that was also very successful way for me to make money, but also market my business. So those are all, as you can see, this pretty diverse. So all these different ways that I was able to make, and then eventually, like I said, scale to 7 figures. And these are all the different ways. And we're always looking for more ways to buy my income. And I think that's
I love that. Yeah, I feel similarly. It's in different ways for customers and clients to find you too. I think you see people who are like all in on Facebook or Instagram and then their account gets shut down and it's like their whole world screeches to a stop, and being diversified in the ways that clients come into your business as well. So you mentioned like blogging and Pinterest. Is that like a big part of how clients find you?
It is. Pinterest is definitely my biggest traffic source. It is something that I focused on day one. I started getting traffic from Pinterest before even Google recognized my site. So Pinterest is a gold mine for bloggers. And just this year, I'm even monetizing my website with ads. I've never run ads on my site before. So I forgot to mention that's another revenue source, but only because I wanted to not disrupt the user experience. I wanted to focus more on the user experience. And I know ads can be a little annoying. But this year, when I got the invitation, I said, you know what? It's okay. People are used to ads. The ones that will come to my blog, they would still come to the blog. It's okay. The ads are not going to turn them off that much. And so I'm experimenting with that as well. And yeah, Pinterest, Google, both of them allowed me to get that traffic to be able to run the ads, right? Because otherwise it's useless to run ads if you don't even have any traffic to your site. But yeah, so definitely I do recommend, and those are again organic, very free ways to get your ideal customer to find you.
Yeah.
You're not running paid ads and you're not doing any of that. I have done that too, but I'm just saying that I like to focus a lot of my reach on organic as well, like videos, like blog posts, because first of all, that gives value to people. And then second, if you can rank on Google or if they can find you on Pinterest, and that's obviously a very natural, authentic way of building the connection than any other way.
That's amazing. What's an average monthly views that you get on your website?
I would have to go back and check the average views. So Pinterest goes up and down. So does Google. Google, because of the helpful updates, there was some loss of traffic. I think I would have to go back and see the exact numbers of what my numbers are looking right now. It's been some time that I've checked those analytics.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because I don't know, I've seen this trend in online entrepreneurship where people don't really focus on their website. And I was one of those, like my website was just there for the first couple of years, but wasn't really a focus. And now, like every time I put out a podcast, we write it into a blog and put that out. So it's been more of a focus probably in the last year, but I'm sure for many people listening, they're like curious about it, not executing any of these strategies. So I was wondering if you had a ballpark of like how many people come to your site. Cause yeah, sometimes like that effort versus reward, maybe somebody's spending a lot of time on a reel that's only getting 300 views, and that same amount of time spent on Pinterest pins or a blog post maybe would yield them more fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I remember, like I'm looking at it right now as we were speaking. So Pinterest, my monthly views are 800,000, but that doesn't mean that all of them are clicking to the site, but that's just, and at one point, I think it was 1 million. But if I go into my clicks, let me see my analytics, if I can see, I think it was like 40,000 or something like that. So if I remember from Pinterest, that were the clicks. If I remember. Yeah, I would have to go and.
That's really good because I think it's usually like maybe 2% of people that click off of Pinterest onto sites.
Yeah. So Pinterest, the good thing about Pinterest is that it's a search engine. So just like YouTube, right? So people are actually, it's not like Facebook or Instagram where they're just scrolling mindlessly. Pinterest, they're actually an intent behind it. So when people are searching on Pinterest, they're actually wanting to get a solution. They want to get an answer to a problem. And so if somebody searches on Pinterest, and you can try that too, blog legal pages or legal pages website, I guarantee you one of my pins will come up. So it's just like, again, I'm answering that problem, right? Like the minute somebody's, well, what do I need on my website? Like for legal pages, then one of my articles will come up or my video will come up or something will come up. And then you will read it. And first of all, it'll educate you. And then it will also give you the product that you need to ensure that compliance, the next step. So that's how I really help.
Yeah.
And again, not just legal templates. I have articles on business topics, email marketing. Again, if I'm referring to a AI software as an affiliate or an email marketing platform, I would have an article about it. So I'm making I'm making affiliate income on that. I'm not earning anything from my products or services, but at least I'm still making money from somebody else's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So for everyone listening, we're not gonna make you. How can people connect with you and the work that you do and learn more about your legal templates and everything?
Yeah. So everywhere you will find me at aselfguru, whether it's Pinterest, YouTube, my website, aselfguru.com, Instagram, everywhere. That's where I am. I do encourage you guys, if you're listening, to always protect your business. I always say this, that legal is the glue that holds your business together. And it's a lot easier, trust me, to take care of the legal aspect of your business from the beginning than later on. I work with entrepreneurs who are just starting, and I also work with entrepreneurs who've been at it for years, seasoned ones. And trust me, when I give them the solutions, it's a lot harder to go back and redo things than to just start the correct way. So keep that in mind. And I do encourage you to also download my free legal guide, which we can have it on my website or in the show notes, that would guide you through some of the mistakes that you absolutely want to avoid in your business, no matter what stage of your business that you're at. And these are mistakes, trust me, that I have personally seen entrepreneurs making after working with them for over years. And so I would like you to grab that guide so you can be smarter.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for coming on the show. Last question. What has it felt like for you to be on your own joyous path to millions?
Oh, I love this question. I think for me, it's just getting that freedom, that peace of mind that was lacking in the traditional world, like in the traditional job. I just have a lot more harmony, peace of mind, and I believe that I'm growing into the woman that I like seeing, or that woman that actually physically and mentally is the best version of herself, which I could never say before.
What a gift. What a gift you've given yourself. That's amazing.
I think it's priceless. I think it's priceless because once you're mentally and physically where you want to be, that's when you can conquer and that's when you can get what you want. If you're not, what good is the money if mentally you're not happy? Or what good is anything? So I feel like mental and peace of mind together in harmony is really the key to unlocking your true potential and endless possibilities.
I couldn't agree more. Amira, thank you so much for coming on the show. And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. I really enjoyed getting to know Amira so much. I'm so glad that she came on the show and shared her wisdom with us and shared her story. Make sure you go on Instagram and give her a follow at A Self Guru. Here were my top takeaways. Number 1, use contracts in business. Number 2, decondition from the hustle. Notice the places where you're hustling and where it feels like there's some energy drain and some sacrifice, and take the steps to reduce that before it results in a health crisis. I am nothing like a fearmonger. I don't resonate with that at all. But there are wisdom in these women's stories. And I've just seen it time and time again, where eventually your body will force you to stop if you don't recognize it yourself. And so pay attention to those whispers and those subtle clues that your body and mind are already giving you so that you really can be in a place of thriving financially and in health. Number 3, diversify your income. I loved how Amira shared so openly the different ways that she monetizes her business and how she's created so many different income streams. Number 4, if you are type A, high achieving, goal getter kind of person, either naturally or through conditioning, just like the way that you feel that you are, maybe stop setting goals. That was a fun little convo that Amira and I had. And I really believe that just like toning down your goals or setting goals that are more about well-being and feeling than just achievement is really helpful, because you're probably going to achieve the things anyway. And once you have them, you'll actually be more proud of the achievement if you did it in a way that didn't self-sacrifice. And sometimes as soon as we set that goal, we go about getting it in a way that does involve sacrifice. And number 5, be the person you love. That was so sweet when I asked her about her joyous path to millions. And she said that she really gets to wake up every day and she's the person inside and out that she really wants to be and that she loves. And that wasn't something she could say before. And that's really it, isn't it? We don't want this disconnect between what we have materialistically and how we feel internally. The more we love ourselves and the more we've cultivated this inner identity and then bring that into the external world, the happier we'll be, the more joyous our path to millions will be. So thank you so much for tuning in. I've got some beautiful interviews lined up. So continue to tune in every week. We release a new episode on Tuesdays. I also invite you, if you've been missing some of my solo episodes, to come binge on Soul Mission. So that is off the cuff. It's riffs. Often when I'm like walking or driving, like these times when just naturally stuff wants to come through and you want to hear like the inner workings of my mind, how I think, how I feel, my perspective on things. It's like more of a girlfriend chat. That all happens inside of Soul Mission. And I give you 3 days to binge for free. Make sure that you love it before you pay. And then there's either like a low monthly subscription, or you can pay once or twice a year. And my intention inside of Soul Mission is that you get like 100x ROI, that just one single episode, you will have such a feeling of aliveness, feel so inspired, take aligned action in a way that just pays for the whole thing. So come join, come check it out. I'd love to hang out with you there as well. So thank you for tuning into this show, for sharing it, for leaving reviews, for making it a top 2% global podcast. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. Changing the way that we think, feel, and talk about money is up-leveling the planet. I truly believe that. The ripple effect starts with you tuning in, and it spreads when you share this show on Instagram and Facebook. You can tag me at mmakesmoney. And you know what moves the needle the most? Taking just a minute to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. This show isn't free to produce, so let's multiply those dollars invested and help this show reach a bigger audience each week. So thank you in advance for your help. I really appreciate it. And until next time, I'm sending you all the magic money vibes on your joyous path to millions.